Hello and welcome to this T-Box Media coverage, the 2022 Taupo Thermal Throwdown, live from the beautiful Spa Park in Taupo, Nuiatia. I'm Henry Pearson, joined in the commentary booth by my good friend Jarrad Newton. Jarrad, how do you do?
Well, we're doing really well, thank you, Henry. It's looking like we had some really nice weather here today. Joined by a few friends. First up is Dane Sales. He's playing MPO and he's playing out of Hamilton. No sponsor yet, ... We've also got Matt Masters, sponsored by RPM, and he's a local lad out of Auckland.
Rounding out the card, a couple of Wellington boys. Brady, Kuech, no stranger to those in the New Zealand disc golf community, a contributor in many ways to disc golf here in New Zealand, and his teammate, also from Sweet Chain Music, Francis Orange. A young man with a lot of talent. I think at the time of filming, Francis was still just a teenager, so all these boys very highly rated, and we move into hole number 1.
Alright, hole number 1. This is a bit of a forehand hole if that's up your alley, or a turnover backhand. It's going to be some kind of a putter or a mid-range shot. It's nothing too far for a first hole, but there is a Mando tree there to your right, so it's one you really want to get. We'll see how the boys go.
Nice way to ease into the day. Dane Sales leading us off. And unfortunately collides with that tree that Jarrad mentioned, a Mando to the left of that, and Dane unfortunately cutting it a little too fine.
Could have been a lucky tree. Matt, excellent shot.
Matt with a pearler of a shot. That probably an RPM Takapu, a new slow speed, straight flying putter. Brady Kuech one to bag.
Oh, with the wide rim driver, going for the skip shot.
Probably something from Discraft. He's known for his love of Discraft, and funnily enough, so too is Francis. Looks like a get freaky zone.
Yeah, I've seen him throw this before.
Hand.
The last finger of the Phantom Branch.
So the tournament being played in October, September of our tour season here in New Zealand, which is sort of coming out of winter and entering springtime. So some lovely conditions over the course of the weekend for spring golf.
Yeah, just looks really still, and not a lot of leaves on some of these deciduous trees. So I guess the course play is a little bit different.
Dane now to tidy up for par after a little upshot underneath the tree, and a very solid putt to begin his round. That'll be
That's a good confidence builder.
Indeed.
That was a very nice putt right on the pole.
Matt with a really good look for birdie here.
Aye.
And he'll have to forgive me for perhaps giving him the commentator's curse. But sure enough, he'll tidy up for 3 and move forward, as will the other boys. Jarrad, you and I had the pleasure of playing here earlier in the year, which
we certainly did. At the autumn course. It was absolutely amazing, and we played the golf course just up the road. I forget its name.
I think it's just the Taupo Golf Club.
It is, yeah.
A beautiful pairing, nevertheless, with this course, and we'll see it again next March as well for the North Island Championships, one of 3 New Zealand majors. As we look at hole 2 here, it's a long par 3, 130 metres. That tree that we just passed on the right hand side is a mandatory. You're going to have to play left of that, so the boys will look to either play a very strong and long forehand or a sweeping turnover to tuck themselves into the circle, but given the length, that's a tough ask.
We do have a new addition for this tournament as well. You see the red flags there in the background, and if you throw too far, now that is going to be out of bounds.
Matthew with a picker in hand, an RPM understable fairway driver. Matt standing at roughly 6'5", so some very long levers and capable of some good distance.
Oh, and got a skip. That was a crush. I'm not sure he was expecting his pecker to go quite that far. Unfortunately, Matt finding the out of bounds there.
Brady with a very smooth flip up. Looked like a distance driver, perhaps a fairway, but he's in good position there to get up and down. Can just play into the bank before the basket. Now Francis does have a wicked forehand, so probably the only player on the card really capable of whipping one down as far as this hole demands.
Wow, that's very smooth.
Probably a little bit turned over out of the hand, but look, he's got the best look for a 2 out of the group.
That was beautiful.
And I suspect we're going to see this out of the other boys. A couple of layups into the banks just to tidy up on the hole. Jarrad, you've played this course a number of times over the last couple of years. What do you think the key really is to success around the layout here at Spa Park?
I love the green grass. I find that the ground play here is a tactic that I can use, particularly in this course. Some of the other New Zealand courses, the grass can be a bit longer, some of the footing can be a bit stickier, but you can see you've got the short grass there and a little bit of the dirt. So I love to play the skip shots. You saw Brady play that on the first hole. So when I'm coming into this course, that's something that I like to play. There's rollers on some of the holes as well, and I don't know, if you have the cojones to go for it, sometimes it can pay off, and other times not so much. But just normally the conditions, mate. I try and play the hole for par, and if you get a really good drive, then you know you can go for birdie.
You betcha. I think that's sound advice, frankly.
So hole number 3. This is a par 4. It is out of bounds all the way on the left, and we do have out of bounds on the right at the moment as well. You basically want to lay up to just in front of the insurance sign there, and then it dog legs to the right here, and it's a bit of a putter up shot and a fairway off the tee. It's one you really want, but it's quite tricky. These trees are tough.
Yeah, right you are. This is an interesting part of the course, frankly. The better half of the back nine of this course is much more open and a little more forgiving for errant drives, but this section 3, 4 and 5 are all quite tightly wooded, so players are going to have to be careful not to throw 2 astray and get stuck in the forest. Dane there with a nice drive out into the middle.
Smooth out of Brady. Looking for the ground play.
That looked like it could have been a slower disc, a mid-range perhaps, and I don't think that's...
He wanted it a little bit further up, so he's going to have a bit of a pinched off view of the basket there.
Certainly a risk and reward hole here. The further down the fairway you push, the better the angle you've got to that guarded green, but the further down you push, the closer you get to the out of bounds. Matt unfortunate to pick up the bogey after that good pump off the second tee, so he rounds out the card on the third hole. But that looks to be a beaut.
Yeah, and the ground play. Beautiful stroke from Matt. That was awesome from him. So Francis with the layup. It's difficult to do much from there. You certainly can't cut that corner. I've been in there before and it is not fun.
And that'll leave Dane with a slightly outside circle look. And he'll be quite pleased, I think, having been slightly pinched off from the middle of the fairway.
Yeah.
Brady now having to adopt quite an awkward stance, but even if he can push it up into the opening of that gap you can see there, he'd be pleased, but he's just gone a little too far. And that will certainly be an obstructed putt. Matthew with the pick of the lot, look at that angle to the basket. It's quite rare that you get a drive this far up and be able to see the basket.
Ouch, that hurt.
Bit of an opportunity lost. They still have a jumper, I suppose, but not quite the length of putt he was looking for. What a look. That was a pretty good run from a touchy little forehand spot around the tree. Francis has been playing some pretty notable golf of late. He played very well in Taupo just a couple of weeks ago, as we see Matt past the chains and missing only by an inch. Oh my goodness.
And Brady. Wow. Well, he really went for it.
The boys are certainly
They're hunting.
getting the heart racing in the commentary booth here early. Didn't think we were quite prepared for the palpitations this quickly, Jarrad, but maybe later in the round after we're a bit warmed up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, neither of us played this tournament. We have no idea how these boys played or who wins, so this is new footage to us. All of the above. Alright, we're going to see the boys round out, clean up their pars here. Which will bring us to the next hole, hole number 4, which I would say is probably the most treacherous of the whole course. How do you find hole number 4, mate?
I tend to agree. It's pretty tight, as you can see from the drone footage here. Hole number 4, par 3. It's 100 metres. Plays slightly downhill, but look, the real key to this hole is navigating this very tight corridor as it begins to open up as you get to sort of circle 3, circle 2. Players might look to throw a hyzer flip mid-range just to get it through those early gaps, but we could see something a little different out of guys like Dane, who are known for throwing overhand.
Looks like he's lining one up. Do you know what disc he's got in the hand, mate?
I can't tell if it's a thumb or a tomahawk. I think that's a thumb.
Something quite stable.
Dane tends to throw, I think, Fallons.
Right.
Dynamic disc Fallons for some of his more overstable thumbs, or a Halo Destroyer. It didn't look like a Halo Destroyer on that occasion. Gee, that's gorgeous.
Oh, Brady. He has juiced that. Now that is very rare. You definitely don't see one getting through the tree so cleanly. Especially, was that a high-speed driver? That looked so quick.
I couldn't tell what it was, but certainly something understable. We started it on that hyzer angle and it flipped up quite nicely.
I think he's gone past the basket.
So this hole number 4, did play as one of the harder on the day. 0.17 over par. So we see Matt Masters with what might be a P Waka Waka. An understable RPM mid-range. unfortunately, that's the trouble on this hole. Once you do stray off the fairway, it can be pretty treacherous to get back into a good position to save par, even bogey at times.
Even on the fairway, you find that you hit a few trees from time to time.
Met with an outside circle bid. A little bit wobbly out of the hand. It might have just been a bit tricky to sort of navigate those trees in front of him. As we see, Brady's gone past the basket off the tee, which is incredibly unusual on this hole, given the obstacles to navigate down the fairway.
Yeah, it looked like he had a low ceiling and couldn't quite give it the height he needed. But a tap in par, I mean, it's not bad, eh? You take it.
I think given a third of the field took bogey or worse on this hole, par is pretty good. Mind you, these are the best of the best, so they'll be looking to push it on as many holes as they possibly can. That's alright, now we move on to hole number 5, and the last before we head out into the open once more.
Yeah, so there was a tree down in the past. It used to just be a straight hyzer shot, and now we have a wooded tunnel. You can pick a left gap or a right gap, or you can go straight through the middle and just try your luck. It seems to be there is a Mando there on the right too, by the way, so you can't just pitch straight out into the field. You really do have to go through this mess of woods somehow. It is birdieable. I have seen it happen, but yeah, you do need a little bit of tree love.
If I
Made
recall,
the Mando.
if I recall correctly, that's going to be close to where that Mando is, isn't it?
Yeah. Wow. Doesn't look like much from there, does it? Well, that's a great shot by Francis.
It's really dealer's choice off this tee. You've got a right-hand line in which you could play either a sort of flexi turnover forehand or a hyzer flippy backhand, and then a leftward line, which is probably the more open of the two, which looks like Dane is lining up here, which is really prime for a slow-moving turnover backhand, which I think is what we're going to see from Dane.
That's the line I like, the line that Dane just took.
What sort of disc would you throw there, Jarrad?
I throw a pecker and just give it heaps of turn and heaps of height, and just know that it's just going to drift right the whole way. You start it off left, give it a bit of height, and then if it hits a tree, you're not going to bounce out of bounds. That's the way I see it. If I throw a forehand, I'm a lot more likely to get that bad break. But yeah, I've seen a few people drift them up nice and high, and yeah, I've seen a lot more get through that way. How about yourself? Are you an overhand thrower in that moment? You like throwing a thumber, or?
I think this hole is a little too tight early to throw a thumber. It requires quite a sharp turn at about 50 metres into its flight to the right hand side if you're going to throw an overhand, and the thumb is probably not quite the right shape to do it. I prefer a similar shot to what you were describing, a turnover backhand shot, maybe with something a little slower. I'm not trying to bite off too much distance here.
I think I just like the speed, because I don't know, there's something about there's like a luck factor. I find a slower disc, if it hits a tree, it's just gonna die, whereas the faster disc might go a bit further. But yeah, I definitely feel you on that. What's your disc selection?
Well, I was thinking of P Waka Waka when you posed the question, but I can't recall what I threw in the tournament earlier in the year.
Right.
Maybe a force over buzz, I'm not too sure. Francis in position here. I can't actually remember whether he is putting for 3 or 4, but he'll tap in either way. So this hole did play among one of the more difficult on the round today. Like the previous hole, it played 0.17 over par. And Matt is unfortunately going to take a pretty big number here, given he was stuck quite deep in the forest there on the left.
That's a great par from Francis. It looks like he's gonna take the lead on the card there, which is off to an excellent start.
Yeah, the only one of our players to remain clean thus far, which is quite impressive, frankly, given the difficulty of the holes just played. We move on to hole number 6.
Yeah, we have a shorter tee than the traditional. Normally we have a shared tee. I don't know how much further back it would be. But yeah, basically it's going to take out a lot of these little short shrubby trees that would the middle gap would normally be in the way of. And I'd say a lot of these players are just going to throw a big backhand hyzer around this big tree here and try and skip something up the bank, just to give you a nice inside the circle edge putt.
Francis here making the most of the open space on the right hand side, as Jarrad recommended, and he'll be left with a slightly inside circle look for his birdie. So the temporary tee pad that you see here and a few of the other tournament instalments put on for the weekend were put together by the guys at the Taupo Disc Golf Club, led by Steve Lawson at the helm for the weekend, the tournament TD. And we had 87 players playing across a range of divisions, slightly shorter MPO field than what we saw earlier in the year, but still did bring out some good players. Previous North Island champ Conor McKinstry, Brady, who's a renowned player in his own right, has challenged for tour titles over the years, and some young guns, Matthew and Francis and Dane among them.
Excellent skip, but that is still a really tough putt to run. I'd say Francis has the best look, just inside circle there.
Matthew taking a knee to become the height of a normal person for a change, and he'll lay up to make a very easy 3. Francis with a good look to pick up a stroke on the card. This for a birdie too.
Let's go.
Yeah, Francis. Love to see it, mate.
I did say it. I did say it.
Oh, it's good to see some green on the board.
The first of the day, and hopefully more to come.
Francis putting his foot down.
Putting a bit of a move on the card.
Yep. Now it's a 2-stroke lead.
So we had 2 slightly different layouts played over the course of the weekend. This today is the Spa Park Red layout, and we'll get to see on the next hole here one of the differences between the red and the black course. This is hole number 7. It's a par 3, 109 metres, certainly wide open until we get to the basket. The players will look to put a disc out nice and wide and throw an overstable fairway or driver to pitch it up into this bank and hopefully look to secure a birdie too. And you can see just in the distance there's a second basket. That is the basket for the black course, which the players are going to navigate in the penultimate round of the tournament.
There does tend to be a little bit of wind whipping around here, and it is OB in the bushes there to the right, which can be a little bit of danger. But I'd say a lot of these boys are just going to go for the big old hyzer, try and skip it up in there. And yet Francis with a great looking shot manages to skip through the trees.
Dane looks like he's put a bit too much muscle on that one, or at least he thought he did, out of the hand, but he's left himself with a good look actually up the hill, so he can give it a good fair run.
Yeah, that's a good safe bid. You'll be able to give it a good run from there. Brady with a nice looking hyzer flip. Strong hyzer finish, and he's actually gone past the basket. Nope.
So that'll be a terrific drive for the long basket, which the players will play in round 3, the final round of the tournament, which does play as a par 4, so Brady might even have a crack if he was in that position on round 3 for an eagle too. Obviously going to be a bit more of a treacherous putt today, looking downhill with a slope that slopes away to his left. Each of the other 3 boys can give it decent bids though, looking up the hill.
Good looking bid from Matt there.
Francis putting with crazy tough Lunas. He puts an interesting move on the disc there when he's putting, doesn't he? With
he's got a
quite a unique wrist flick.
A lot of wrist. Wow, and Brady was really close to out of bounds there. I didn't realise that. And he's given it a good bid, just didn't quite catch.
And Dane with the best look of the bunch, and he'll capitalise with a birdie too, and bring his round back to even par.
Nice.
Just coming back to Francis's putting, I wonder if there's a bit of method to his madness, given that Francis is from windy Wellington, and by putting a little more spin on the disc,
yes,
you get a sense that would keep it stable in the wind.
Yeah. I come from windy Western Australia, and you've got to put the spin on the disc to get the disc to hold, that's for sure. I never had much success with the push putt because I just couldn't get it to fly through the wind. Any kind of flutter or anything like that, and the wind would catch it. So yeah, I'd say he's doing that for sure. So hole number 8 is traditionally we would play a par 4 all the way down the roadway there, but it's just going to play as a hyzer up to the left. It's 106 metres, but it does play quite a ways uphill. So this is a full shot. Looks like Dane just sawed that off a little bit. I believe the basket's just down the hill a little bit more. And there it is there. So it's probably about 25 with a little tree in the way.
This hole, if I recall correctly, Jarrad, is your favourite on the course when it does play as that par 4 down the roadway there to those prominent trees at the end.
That's absolutely right. It's one of my favourite holes I've ever played in my life, I think, mate. Absolutely love it, and I don't know why they don't play it as a par 4. I think it's a bit of a shame, but this is a part of the traditional course. I believe that pathway, it does play as a bit of a hazard when they do have lots of traffic through, so I understand why they don't do it, and they probably have a need for a permanent spotter. But yeah, Taupo Spa Park is got to be one of the most beautiful courses I've ever played and been to. It's definitely an amazing piece for New Zealand.
Matt to round out the card with a Cosmic Kahu RPM high-speed distance driver, but unfortunately collides with the tree. It was lucky for him there. After navigating past that tree, there's really not a lot in the way between you and the basket, so he's still got a good chance here to make a 3. A little left to be desired there. I think he'll have a long C2, even C3 bid up the hill. It's a safe par.
Excellent layup from Brady. Don't really want to run one from there. And Matt trying to clean up his par.
Matt's certainly having a bit of trouble on the course today, but it wasn't that long ago, in fact, on this very course earlier in the year, that Matt took out a MA1 victory, securing the win at the Taupo Nuiatea Classic in April of this year.
Yeah, played not just one round of his life, but 4 rounds of his life, I think.
Incredibly consistent, actually, over the
Able to
course
back
of
them
that.
all up. Yeah.
Francis.
And I think he went into that tournament being rated sort of middling in relative to the rest of the MA1 field, and was somewhat of a surprise winner, but his play over the course of the weekend was
Keep at it.
very sharp, very tidy, so well deserving of the win.
You were there to witness it, weren't you, Henry? You're on that card with him.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of playing a couple of rounds with Matt, and he was just so consistent all weekend, and thrived on the golf course in particular, but unfortunately we won't get to see that this time round, not until March next year for the North Island Championships. As we look at hole 9, it's a par 4, 141 metres. The players will be looking to push their drives up and into this collection of trees here on the slope, to put themselves in position to place a short upshot to a reasonably wide open green. This is a gettable hole. The boys will be looking to secure a birdie here. The drive really is the key on this hole, and if you can put yourself in a good spot, then all of these guys will back themselves to get up and down.
Oh, good skip.
It's probably a little too far back from that tree line to have a comfortable line to the basket. Dane might have to come up with something unique to navigate the low ceiling and upward gradient of the hill, as Francis pushes one into a good spot.
Just got that late tree kick. Does bring a bit of a low ceiling into play, but I feel like he probably is far enough up the fairway that doesn't come too far into play. But you don't want to be too early right. There is a bit of a sweet spot, and it's probably about 15 metres past where those two boys have landed. And that looks ripped out of the hand from Matt. You don't want to go too far down there. Have you ever been there before, mate? What does it look like? Does it start being a little bit too low ceiling?
If I recall correctly, the further down you push the fairway, the more open the canopy is. This part of the hill that Dane's just pressed into is a little higher than the left-hand side of the hill. So even as far back from the hill as Matt is here, he'll potentially have a line to the basket.
Yeah, you're not worried about distance from here. Oh, get it up, bud. Hey!
Could have been a lot better.
A funny little bounce from a niggly angle, admittedly, but
Bit of live commentary. So I do believe that was quite a low. We couldn't quite see from what Matt was looking at, but I believe it would have been probably a metre or metre and a half. He was trying to hit it through. Just a little bit low out of the hand. And yeah, Brady inside the circle. And this is France's favourite disc, I believe. The zone. Bread and butter.
I think you heard the money call there in the background from his teammate Brady, and it was well timed, a money shot indeed. Dane with a long bid for his birdie 3, but it should be chalk and cheese for him to dust off a par and move on with an even par front 9. Oh, what a bid.
Boys have been tickling the chains. Still waiting for a circle 2 to drop.
That putt was a little longer than I thought from the other angle. It looked like it could have almost been circle's edge, which is a bit of a shame for Dane. He'll drop a shot before moving on to the back 9. Brady now from 20 feet. And he collects a birdie to move back square with the course. And the other boys all dust it off. And we'll call that the front 9 for our first round here at the Triple T Taupo Thermal Throwdown. Jarrad, any takeaways from the front 9 before we move on to the back?
Wow. Well, there's a couple of nice little course changes there. Some really nice out of bounds. And yeah, the boys are playing pretty good. I wish I was there. How about yourself, mate?
Yeah, I wish I was there too. I didn't go, which was probably a bit regrettable in the end.
Sold out.
Yeah, sold out quickly too.
You got to get in quick at the moment, mate.
Yeah, you bet. Francis leads the way at 2 down, and his teammate Brady Kuech not too far behind him. Thanks to our sponsors, The Shop, RPM, and all the rest. We'll see you on the back 9.
Back 9 coming up next. Thanks, guys.